So last week we went into, and I'll show you what we did actually, we'll do a quick review. Hyperlinks, talked about how to link to other pages and stuff like that. In fact, we might review that now because you saw it, Jeff. The code sandbox for those that didn't watch it last time, it has an issue with linking to pages, it turns out, at least with the project setup I had. So we're going to switch things this week to a real editor. I was joking with these guys. You had 4 workshops of baby. Now we're going big boy steps. Like now you're going to get a car seat instead of a baby seat, you know? But, all right. So let's go ahead and for those real quick again that might have tuned in for the first time, my name is Dan Wallin. I have Jeff Taft with me here. Say hi, Jeff. They can't see you.
Hello.
I need to get that other camera going.
I know, right?
You know? And Seth Taft, and Danny should be here. He went to work out. He ditched on us. And then, yeah, he's a punk. And then we have a few people, friends and family remote that hopefully are logging in tonight as well. And then, I don't know, last time we had like 2 guys from Brazil, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys from Brazil are around again. Awesome. Good to have you if you are.
Vinicius is how you say his name.
Oh, how do you say it?
Vinicius.
Oh, it's Vinicius?
Uh-huh.
Because I said like Vinicius or something.
You're good on the other one, Tiago.
Tiago?
Yeah.
Is that how you said it?
Yep.
Yeah, good memory, man. All right, so let me switch over to this mode. All right, so last week, here's what we did. And I'm going to tell you guys about a site called github.com. You guys heard of GitHub by chance? You know what it is? Or have you just heard of it?
When I went to that class.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's well, definitely the world's most popular place to put programming code. That's what we call open source. Open source means, well, for instance, this project I'm going to show you. So you can see on the left side, there's some folders, Workshop 4 and Workshop 5 there. That is now up on, Workshop 4 folder is up on GitHub, which means you guys, I'll show you how to get to it in just a sec here. You guys can go to it and then, you can do what's either called, you can either download the zip and then try to run it locally, or you can do what's called a git clone. We're not going to get into that today, but I don't know, maybe another workshop we'll talk about that a little bit. But what we're going to do today is work with a real editor. Yay. Because Code Sandbox was pretty awesome for the basic. It's actually really good for what it does. It's designed more for this app called React. This it's a library. But, you know, we're not there yet. So let me show you first off kind of a few things here. This is an editor called VS Code. It's an extremely popular editor. You can go to code.visualstudio.com and it's free. It runs on Mac, it runs on Windows, it runs on Linux. And it is from Microsoft. But it is, if you looked at the popularity chart like over the last year, it started off like this, right? And then, man, it just went, because it is just an awesome editor and it's totally free. So if you want to start doing this for real, this is what I use. It's what I've been using all day in my office is this editor, right here. It's really, really good. So you basically just hit the download, do the installer for Mac or Windows or Linux, and literally it might take you, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, something like that. All right, so that's kind of the first thing. I'm going to be using this editor. Now, the second thing is if you want to get to where kind of forever moving forward, where all the code's going to be, the sandbox was nice because I could give out links and things. But the nice thing with GitHub is you guys can actually, once I get you set up, you could actually contribute. So like if we had a lab where we say, all right, next week you need to do a site, Seth, and you have to do X, Y, Z. And you say, all right, I'll do it. Well, we can now make it where you can check that in and now I can get to it and everybody could.
You could add
Yep.
stuff made.
And if you find something I did and you're like, I can make that way better, then you can do what's called a pull request. And basically you would clone, they call it. It's like making a copy of my project on your machine, make edits, and then you issue what's called a pull request, which sends a request to me to pull your code in to the repository. That's what's called a repository. And then your code would basically kind of like overwrite what was there if I approve it. I just had 2 of those come in this morning actually, from another guy in Norway for a project I have, where he had some suggestions, which actually I'll admit they were better than what I had. So I'm like, cool, good job. His name's Magnus. I was like, good job, Magnus. I'm doing it. So anyway, so that's the first thing where you can get the editor. Now, second thing, how do you get to where I'm going to start putting the code for these workshops? It's github.com/Dan Wallin. Ignore the big ugly picture. I should just put like an icon there or something. But if you click on repositories, so github.com/DANWAHLIN, and then repositories. All right, you're going to see this. So you want to be a web developer. Oh, good, I spelled it right. Because I made this this is why I was behind today. Because I wanted to get this in place for you guys, and that's when I looked at the watch and went, oh, gee whiz, they're going to be here in like 2 minutes. So anyway, for now, what you guys can do is, so when you go to it, it's going to look like this, and there's going to be a little README on how to actually run it. I'll go through that in just a sec here. Every good source code repository, and there are literally, I don't know, probably millions of these, or at least hundreds of thousands, probably millions on there. They'll always have what's called a README. It's you guys ever heard of Markdown in blogs? Like with WordPress, you can do what's called Markdown. It's a different way to write like blog posts without having to know any HTML. But that's a different topic. So anyway, when you go here, the first thing you have to do is we're going to actually start running a real web server. Well, I shouldn't say that. A real development web server. Like, don't use this in production, what I'm going to show you. In fact, it wouldn't work in production, but it's great for like live development. We're going to use one that a buddy of mine named John Papa put together. It was used by the Angular group. They've now since started doing some other things, but it's still really useful for this type of scenario. I'll show you. So the first thing you would do is you go to the repository, and then I won't go into it right now because this is another topic, but maybe we'll have a workshop on like, how to do a Git repo, it's called. Git is the source control technology. Basically, it's if you check something in, Jeff, it tracks the versions of your code. And then if Seth checks something in, it would track his. So everything gets a history, basically. And so it's actually super cool. And it's totally free if your repositories are public. Then keep in mind, anybody can get to this. But it's really cool because now literally the entire world could contribute to this. Now, I don't think they're going to contribute to this one, but they could. So like WordPress as an example. I don't know where the repository is. We could go find it. But people can contribute to these open source projects. I have to see. I don't know how much WordPress allows you to do there, but I think they do. So what you guys would do to keep it easy, you see this clone or download? Now, normally, once you it's called Git. Now, when I say Git, it's not G-E-T, G-I-T. Like it, but with a G, Git. And normally you would do this Git clone, it's called, but I'm not going to go into that. For you guys for now, you can just download zip if you actually want to just get this code. And then just extract the zip, which I know you've all done. And so, this will be in the video. So you guys can kind of rewatch it. Now, then you would extract the zip, maybe like to your desktop or wherever you want to put it, and then you can run through the steps I'm going to show you. All right. So again, you go to github.com/Dan Wallin. Just click on repositories. So let me just go back to the root here. Repositories. And then so you want to be a web developer, which will not always be number one because I just did it today. 2 hours ago, in fact. And then you just download zip. If you want to read ahead, install Git and learn how to do a Git clone. But for now, just the zip is fine. All right, next thing you have to do is now you don't even have to do this. Just to show you. So if I go back to the editor and don't even run a web server. So let me just open this workshop folder in like Windows Explorer, Finder, and Mac. I'm just going to double click the HTML file. It works. Now that's because right now we're not doing anything super dynamic. Now what I have for you in the README though, and so bottom line is you guys could do that if you want and start playing with this stuff. You don't have to have a web server, but there's some cool things with it. So if you want to do the web server, you would run off to this nodejs.org. I'll just show you really quick here. There's going to be a link in the README. And you would install Node.js for Mac or for Windows. It runs on Mac, Windows, and Linux. Super quick install. It's easy to do. Just as a side note for anyone on the live stream, if you're on Mac, there's many ways you can do it. You could, for instance, use Brew. So if you use Homebrew and know what that is, you could use that to install this. To be honest, for now, let's just keep it as you click on this and it downloads a package or an exe. And then on Windows, you just run through the install wizard, which you've all done, and you're ready to go. All right. The way you check if you have Node installed is if you open up a command window. So let's talk about that because now I'm jumping ahead here. So in Windows, you have that little search thing right down here, right? Well, at least on Windows 10. Are you on 10?
Yeah.
So if you're on Windows 7, if you hit the start menu, I think there still is an option there. But on Windows 10, you know, it's down in the bar by default. If you just type command in there, you'll see command window will be an option, and that's what I just opened. So you just type the word command or CMD, and that should pull up this command window, it's called. When you do that, on Mac, you can go in and either use their search, you know, and search for, it'll probably be terminal. And see it pulled up terminal. I don't know on Mac. I've always done terminal on Mac. Let's see if it does command. Oh, and you know what? Oh, interesting. See that? If I don't click on the window, it doesn't record it.
Oh, weird.
So, whoa, that's not what I wanted. All right, we're booting into Windows 10, folks. I must have clicked the wrong button. Well, we'll edit this part out in the video. Give it a sec here and I will turn this off. Basically now I have Mac and now I have Windows. Maybe Windows heard me saying open the command window, you know, and there we go. There's my Windows machine. But all right, that's actually not what I wanted. Let me shut that down here. All right, give that a sec because that'll eat up a little memory. Okay, cool. Why did you let me click on that, Jeff? Okay. So anyway, once you install Node, you would go to either command window on Windows or a terminal on Mac. It might look scary at first. This is one of those things as a developer these days with JavaScript and the web, you kind of just need to learn. We're not going to go into all the details. Like you guys might have done DOS commands before, like CD or stuff like that. We're not going to do that. Here's what you would type. Node-V. And you would hit enter, and I have Node 8.9. I think 8.10 came out like 2 days ago. Okay, so what is Node? That's a big discussion, but Node basically will allow us to run a web server on Windows, Mac, or Linux. Oh, the boys haven't left. There goes Jeff. So anyway, I'll show you a little later kind of what you'll do with it, but that's all you would do is just Node-V. And that's all for now. That's just how you check, did it work? Okay. Now, Node in a nutshell, like if you hit codewithdan.com, the website, that's actually a Node.js web server. So if you've ever heard of Apache or Tomcat or IIS is a Microsoft one or Node.js, PHP can run on any of those pretty much. It's a way that you can serve up like a website, but it also will do a bunch of other things, which we won't get into right now.
I've been using XAMPP.
XAMPP. Oh, the stack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it has like like.
What servers
PHP.
that use? Do you know? Is it Apache? That might be the A.
has, like, when you pull up the control panel, it has Apache, Tomcat, PHP.
Oh, so you can kind of choose.
Yeah, so you can choose what you want to use.
Cool.
But it lets you run a local, like, do like the local development
Cool.
for like a website. That's what building the Divi site in is using that. So, so I didn't have to be live
Yeah, on a real host. Yeah, that's exactly what Node.js can do, is those type of things. Now, it only runs, Node.js is written with JavaScript, actually. So I don't know that we'll get into JavaScript today, but it'll be soon, we'll start getting into JavaScript. And Node.js, so when you run a browser and it has, cool interactions as you mouse over something or whatever, a lot of times that's JavaScript. And there's a little engine built into Chrome called V8. It's a JavaScript engine. It's the thing that knows how to take your code and actually run it. Well, somebody, his name's Ryan, pulled out years, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago now, said, hey, well, what if we pull that V8 engine out? Because Chrome runs on Linux, Mac, and Windows. Well, what if we pull that V8 engine out and just run it standalone, no browser? And it works. And it turns out it works really well. So that's kind of where it came out of. It's from Google. Well, Node's not from Google, but the engine that runs Node is from Google. So anyway, the only reason we're even covering this at all is because this is stuff you eventually will need to know. Now, like I said, if you guys wanted, you could just download the zip, here, and then just double click on an index.html file. It should open the browser and you should be good. Okay, but I'm going to show you really quick here. Once you have Node installed, what you would do to have a real server, or at least a development. So I'm going to go back to VS Code, and let me start from scratch here. So when you open VS Code, your files will always be on the left. You can search all the files with this guy here. This is your source control. So I just copied some files over, so it says, oh, those aren't up on your GitHub site. Do you want to check those in? So I could come in and say, workshop 5 code. And I'm not going to, but I could hit this, and then I can do what's called a push, and that would push the code up to the GitHub site. You guys don't need to know that for now, but later we might do that. There's a debugging thing you can do. This is to help you find bugs in your code once we get to JavaScript. And then they have a bunch of extensions you can install to do cool bonus features, stuff like that. But we're going to live just pretty much right here in the editor. Now, in the README, once you have Node installed, here's kind of what I say to do. So to run the workshop demos, open the proper workshop folder, such as workshop 4, workshop 5, workshop 6, whatever you guys want to run. And in a terminal window, which is the command window, which I'm going to show you, you don't even have to know what you're doing here. You have to know how to right click. Do the following. And then you run these 2 commands right here. So here's how it's going to work. So if I want to run last week's workshop, I'm going to right click on workshop 4 and see this open in terminal right here. Now that's on Mac. On Windows, I think it'll say open in command window, something like that. Now what this does is, how I opened that, for me, I turned it blue. Most of the time it's black, that terminal. This actually opens a terminal in VS Code. So now the same, how I did Node-V? I can actually do it right here from VS Code. It's really cool. Now, you don't have to do it from here, but it actually is super convenient because it's all in one place. You don't have multiple windows open, and it depends on what I'm doing, but I do use this a fair amount. So that's kind of step 1. So step 1 is you right-click on your workshop, and you go to open in terminal or open in, I think it's command prompt on Windows. All right. Okay, then I gave 2 commands you have to run, right? In fact, let me run these from scratch. I'm going to delete this folder because it will recreate it. So we need to install a little development web server, kind of like you did, Jeff, with what's it called, XAMPP? Yeah, that's not one I'm as familiar with, but that's just a stack of the server and the technology and, for your stuff.
So that's for Windows. The one for Mac is MAMP.
Yeah, or LAMP. They have, I think that one's maybe Linux or something. But yeah, there's well, you guys already probably know, but there's like a gazillion directions you could go with web development. Kind of like my specialty is either Node.js or .NET, C#, but PHP, that's your LAMP or XAMPP stack.
Yeah.
I won't say I'm an expert in that one, except for hacking my blog, which is WordPress. So I kind of just figure it out, but it's not like we don't have clients where I use that.
Right.
But since you're using WordPress, it makes total sense. And Divi. All right. So anyway, so you guys see how to at least open this to start. So just right click on the folder, whatever workshop, open in terminal. And then back in the browser, there's two commands, npm install, okay, and then npm start will start the server. So you run one by one. So I'm going to run, let me switch this to just desktop mode here. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to run npm install, or if you want to save on postage, you can just do npm I. Same thing. And then this will take a sec. This is going to now download some, basically it's some code that it needs to run this little development web server. All right, so like I said, we're kind of do things a little more realistic in this 5th workshop. All right, so it's still going. Once this is done, just ignore all that. This is when you watch movies, by the way, and it looks like you're like, oh my gosh, those guys are amazing. Yeah, they're just running commands like this, and then they make it look like they're typing it, but they're not. It's totally fake. Okay, so it installed 409 packages in 24 seconds. Just whatever. We clear that, and then we run npm start, and then we hope it works, because I literally put this together in about 5 minutes. So I was in movie mode. And this should launch, all right, our phenomenal website from last time. Yeah. All right, now we can do a little review here. Now, let me go back to 100% here. Okay. And we can switch back to this so it's a little more interactive. All right, so here's what I like to do. I will basically pin this on one side of my window, or if I have dual monitors, I'll drag it on another monitor. My editor, I will then pin another way here. Okay, so this is what we did last week, which I'm going to go into real quick. And we're going to do a quick review on hyperlinks, because Jeff, we did those, but remember the sandbox? Yeah, didn't like them. So we'll do them for real. You'll notice I can click on the link, and, I can go to like ESPN. Now this thing's in the way. All right, so cool. And then we're actually using some style sheets, which we're going to talk about, which we did last week, but I'll review really fast. So what I'll do is if I'm on one, like right now, I'm obviously on my laptop, I'll put these side by side. So let me, I'm going to kill this tab real quick. And now what would you do, though, if like you accidentally close the browser and you're like, what do I do? Well, you see right up here, it gives localhost 3000. Localhost is like going to ESPN.com, but just locally. 3000 is what's called a port. Most web traffic you guys do when you go to a website, you know how you just go to like ESPN.com, right? And it just loads. Do you ever put a number up there?
No.
No. Now you might have seen a number when you did your stuff. That's called a port. The default port on when a web browser hits a normal website, it's port 80 it's called. And the way to think of it is a web server is one of many things on a machine that a ship can sail into. So if you think of a port like a docking port for a ship, well, port 80, like the captain's out in the ocean and, they radio back and forth to land and they say, Seth, you're like, all right, port 80's open, dock. Well, by default, most web servers will dock on port 80. So the reason you don't see that is because that's the default. Now, why are they doing 3000 then?
The local?
It's just local, so we can kind of pick whatever port's open. It's kind of like we bought the island. And the island has like,
wherever we want.
Yeah, we can park wherever we want. Exactly. And they chose 3000 to be the default port. Now, could they have chosen 80? They could have. The reason they didn't is because if I was running like your XAMPP stack and it was on 80, 80 would be taken. There's already a ship in the dock. And so if this tried to run on 80, it would be like the ships would collide. It won't let you. Basically, LAN would radio and say, you know, port 80 is taken. Please proceed to port 3000. Change ports. And that's why they did 3000. So if you close this by accident, you can just go back to this, you know, in a browser. Or if I hit Control C, see how that just stopped and went back to, let me clear the screen. See how it went back to the command prompt? Now the web server just died. I just killed it. Control C. All right. With me? Okay, so I'm going to start it again. npm start. This should launch the web server. Okay, there we are. Now here's what's so cool about this, and then we'll do this quick review. So let's say we want to add a new like link in here. All right, so I'm going to go into workshop 4 here. I don't think the Zoomer works on the live stream, but and you're going to notice that I have this node modules. That's basically my web server code. You ignore it. That's where the web server lives. I have this source folder. Notice all there is a CSS file here. And then here's the indexed HTML we've been working with for the last, 4 workshops. Now, if I go into here, this is what we did last week. Wow, that is definitely can you guys read that okay? It's a little big. So in VS Code, they have a settings. You asked me what JSON is. This is JSON. Hey, I didn't even want to show you this, but let's go down to about 16-point font. All right, now we can see a little better. So last week, Jeff, you'll probably remember, and Seth, you'll remember for the week before. Remember we did these styles, and we said if it has a dot on it, that's a CSS class, just a made-up name. And if it doesn't, what is this? What's that called right there? They're all identifiers.
Oh, wait. It's
a selector.
Yeah,
but what type of selector?
The HTML
tag. The tag. It's a tag selector or element selector. Yep. Anyone, you remember what that was from last week? The ID selector. Yep. So remember, and Seth, you didn't see this, but I'll show you. Well, maybe I will. Did I take that out? I might have. All right. Well, we could come in and add a ID equals, say, Seth was here. And that would be a unique identifier. Anytime you put IDs, they're optional, by the way. They always need to be unique for each tag in the page. So I would definitely not want to do this. Okay, because now if I say, hey, Jeff, go get me Seth was here, you're going to go, which one? Right. So anyway, the only reason I wanted to show you that is now we could come up, instead of my section, it would be hash or pound Seth was here. Like that. Okay. Now, in fact, let's see here. Let's move that down because I think the yellow thing's overriding it. Instead of class, let's just put ID right here. And let me save. All right. See how it just changed it to blue there? And by the way, that's a cool feature of this little web server we have, is anytime you save the code, it'll automatically refresh it for you.
Oh.
Yeah. I like it. It's mucho bueno. I don't know Spanish, but these guys do actually. ¿Cómo se dice? Awesome. Excelente. Anyway, so that's what an ID selector is. I don't use those that much. I use classes or tag selectors by far the most. Okay.
So basically, for like a tag like selector, that's if you wanted to select, for some reason you wanted to select every one of those tags on the page. A class would be like, okay, you're giving a class to like maybe a few things, and then ID is an individual one thing. Is that?
Yep. Okay. ID would be unique to the page. Okay. Does it have to be? Technically, no, but should it be? Yeah. A class, as you just said, could be used over and over and over. That's just any tag where you want to apply it, you say class equals. And a tag selector is I want all tags on the page, like you said. So yeah, you get an A for your explanation there. Good job. Yeah, all right. So that was kind of what we did a little bit last week. Now, what we did, Seth, also was we introduced a new guy called link. This is how you link, and notice this src/styles. Well, let's go back to our code. And there we go, src styles. So this is the tag you use to include an external, this is called an external style sheet. The CSS stands for cascading style sheet. And because here's the problem. Let's say, Seth, you now have another page that also needs all these styles. Well, you'd have to copy and paste that style tag and all the styles. Now what happens if Jeff changes the big style or CSS class to change the border? What would now happen when, Seth, you copied and pasted it, though? Well, you're not going to know the change unless you re-copy and paste, right? So, hey, people downstairs. Hey, Danny boy, you guys will pick up on the mic, so. All right. It's my wife and boys, and my wife just said, it's my house. And I would like this to be on the official record, please. Just so everyone knows I wear the shorts, as you can tell. Anyway, the style sheet that you see here, basically, let's go open it. This is kind of where we ended last week. Is you'll notice that I have a body. Now, what is this type of selector? A tag selector. And I have an H1, which is a header tag selector for the header tag. Exactly. And let's just see if it's working. This is what we were kind of playing with last week, but the editor, the link tag, it didn't like it. It wouldn't pull it in. So if I save this now, all right, that is phenomenal UI. It actually looks a little better. I mean, in fact, what could we do to the text color to make the header show up? Change it to white. Hey. Okay, save it. Boom. All right. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of cool. We might want to plan it out a little better, but it's kind of cool. So anyway, let me undo that. We'll stick with white for now, just because I know it's viewable. Isn't that cool how it syncs it though?
Yeah. Super
productive as a developer. We're using the server we're using is called Light Server, but there's a whole bunch of them out there. There's HTTP server and Light Server, and you can use something called Webpack and lots of stuff. All right. So anyway, now what we would do then is, do we want all these guys probably in the page? Probably not. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to undo everything I might have done. Okay, good. I did. So I copied this over to workshop 5. So what I'm going to do is stop the server. And you kind of, right now, you're going to have to run these commands in each folder because I've set it up so each project is unique.
So, okay. So each time you open a new folder,
you got to do the step. Now, maybe I'll change that down the road, but I did this so quick today that I just did it this way. But yeah, so I'm going to right click on workshop 5, open in terminal. Okay. And then what do we run? npm I. Good. Seth, that is bonus points right there, man. Because you know you have limited keystrokes in life, right? There's actually there's a guy named Scott Hanselman from Microsoft, very well-known guy. He's super followed and stuff online and social media. He has like, how many keystrokes do I have left? Oops. Keys left. So you actually put your age, which sadly, man, I'm going to hit 48 in like, what is today? Yeah, like a month. How fast do I type? Pretty fast, but I don't know. We'll just say like 70. So I have 169 million keystrokes left before I die. So you guys ever get like book emails from people? You know, where they send you just like So,
yeah.
So in your response to them, just send a link to this site.
I like how it's counting down too.
Oh, is it counting down?
Yeah, it counts down.
And look what he said. Look what he says to do. Your email signature. Copy this. This email is short because I only have so many keys left. Isn't that great? Anyway. Oh yeah, and then he breaks it down. So 1.2 million tweets left. 56 novels I can write. 338 computer program. Oh, I better get to work, man. Anyway. So yeah, NPMI was a good thing. Boy, I am highly distractible tonight. And then npm start, right? Okay. So this should be, let's double check. This should be workshop 5 now. So let's go change the body real quick back to black. Let me pin this left, save. Okay, perfect. All right, so here's what we're going to do first. We're going to get back to hyperlinks in just a sec, but let's refactor out. This was actually the lab, by the way, which I did update today as well. So I was running behind. I was busy.
I was going to say, I was like, no homework for this.
Sorry. I didn't think about getting back to it till tonight.
I wouldn't do it when I got home from today. Do my homework.
Sorry, you're like, Dan sucks. You didn't give us any homework. All right, so what I'm going to do is go back to the index.html. Let's go full screen here. And we have all these styles, right? So I'm going to copy, not all that. Ooh, it's fast. There we go. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to totally blow away that. Now, look how nice and compact first. Okay. Good. Now, let's watch, though. Let's not screw up my clipboard. Look what happened to the web page now when I save. Yeah.
No style.
Well, yeah. Where'd you get your clothes from? Anyway, it has a little bit because the style sheet is, see on line 6 there?
Yeah.
The style sheet is being pulled in. But yeah, the rest of it.
A couple elements in.
Yeah. It was what? The body and the H1?
Yeah.
So now watch the magic. I'm going to come in. I'm going to paste. I'm going to save. Voila. Now let's review the HTML here. No styles now. That's it. Okay, now why would I do this? Any wild guesses? Even if you've never built a website before.
Clean code and it's reusable.
There you go. It's clean, it's reusable. So let's reuse it. We tried doing links last time on the online one. Well, let's do some real ones here. So I'm going to right click. The way in VS Code works to add files, you can actually come right up here. It says new file or new folder, but I'm just going to right click. So I'm going to add this to the page, to what we call the root. The root right now is workshop 5, the root folder. So I'm going to right click, new file. And let's do, what did we try to do last time? About, I think. Yeah. So we'll do about.html. And let's do like products.html. So now we have 2 web pages which do absolutely nothing. Okay, but we can come in and I'm going to just do a little, let me show you what I just did there. This is a VS Code feature. You go, whoa, out of control. All right, so watch, I'm just going to type, so what's our root tag called? HTML. Well, actually, what do we need on top? Doc type HTML. And what's that do one more time? HTML5. Yep. Now, as a heads up, most websites you guys go to, they don't repeat all this every page. What they do is they have a master template, and then all the pages just have the page content, but not all this stuff. And then what they do is they'll have servers that'll merge their page into the template at runtime. So just as a heads up, we're not going to do that because that requires a little more work that we haven't covered yet. But in a real life app, you don't want to duplicate this every page, right? But hey, for now, like, wouldn't be prudent.
Click on as much as you can.
Yeah, so I'm just hitting tab and see how it's automatically putting the tags for me. So literally I'm just typing like body tab and see how it did that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is why I decided I made the executive decision that we're moving up to the big boy tool here, the real editor. Okay, so, or big girl. Because I know we had, who did we have last? What was her name? Penny? No. I forgot. I didn't see her last one, but the time before.
She was the time before.
Yeah. Was it Penny? Might have been Penny. Anyway, Penny, if you tuned in, good to have you if you did. All right, so now I'm just going to copy that. And we'll go to about. And then just to get it working, let's just do I'm kind of in the habit of doing that, but what could I do for an H1? H1 tab. Right? And we're on about, so we'll say about us. And then we'll go to products. And we'll see. I'm a creature of habit. I've done it for so many years.
Type it out.
There's a tool called Emmet, which this is kind of building on, that is doing this. Emmet is a way you can string together a bunch of tags and just hit tab, and it'll like.
So it just builds your page for you real quick.
I don't know if that's enabled by default on mine. It would be like, I want a div followed by I don't know. I'm typing tags. See, a section tab. No. But if I have the Emmet extension, it'll do it. But anyway,
so you just kind of list it out and then hit enter,
and then hit tab,
or hit tab, and then it will
enter, I think.
It will lay it out.
Mm-hmm. And there's all these ways you can do it. Yeah, if you want to play with that, we'll do a quick segue here because I don't think I have this installed. Search for, it would be Emmet, and I would have to see which one I would want here, to be honest. Let me see. Yeah, like this one supports it. They probably have an example right here. Yeah. So I probably can do some of it, but I haven't tried. But see how they're typing something there? See all that? And then it'll just pop in a whole bunch of the code. And I'll have to admit, I should know that. True story, I actually don't type that much HTML these days because most of I'm doing the programming side, not so much the HTML side. But I still have to do some HTML, but not enough that I've had to worry about. But anyway, there's all these different, let me see, hold on here. I mean, if anything, you can get the Bulgarian language pack. I don't know why that's listed with Emmet. VS Code Bemmet. I'm pretty sure it already has it built in. I should know that actually, but off the top of my head, I forgot. But anyway, it's pretty cool. So we can do products. All right, so now how do I get that style sheet into these two guys? What's the one thing I got to have now? Yeah, exactly. I need to put the link, save, and Jeff, do you remember how to make a hyperlink?
I do. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. No cheating, please. No cheating.
Equals, quotes, and then whatever your link is, and then close the it.
Yep. Sorry, I kind of jumped ahead there on you, but I knew you knew it. I had full confidence. Okay, and then this one would be about. Okay, so as a review, last week we covered this is called an anchor tag. This href, so when you click on a link on CNN or ESPN or whatever you go to, you are actually triggering what's called a hyperlink most of the time. This href is a hyperlink reference to either a local page. Notice this doesn't have HTTP on the front, or a remote type page, which most of the time when you're building apps for like a company, you're not linking out.
Right.
You're linking to your
pages. Inside your own app.
Exactly. So, do you remember what target blank is?
I do, so it opens it in a new window.
Yeah. So I didn't do target blank, so let's see if this works. Now I'm expecting it should work, by the way. Okay, so look at our phenomenal nav bar. So I'm going to click on products, and if you look in the bottom, it actually says it's going to go to localhost 3000 products.html, right? So I'm going to click on that, and woo,
products,
phenomenal. Like H1, really big.
Just like that.
About us. Boom. Okay, and then notice how it's about.html, and when I hit the back, obviously, just like you guys are used to, if I go to here, notice it's products.html up there. Now, notice this got picked up. Let's go now change the style sheet. Okay, and let's find the H1. All right, our font size is arguably a little big. Let's go down to maybe 30, let's say. Now watch what should happen here. Boom. And everywhere I go in all these pages now, see? It's all that size because they're all linked to the same style sheet now. Questions? Make sense? Now, and it's actually pretty, I mean, now that you guys know a little bit about tags and stuff, it's not like this is hard. It's just a new tag, to know. All right, let me go check, see if there was any questions back over here. I don't see any. Okay, so I think we're good. I don't think we even had, I think we only had like one person logged in, which might be Greg. I don't know. But, all right. Okay, cool. So, let's go. Which one is my real browser?
That's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, which one's real?
It like duplicates it, man. I'm telling you, it's kind of weird. Okay, there we go. Well, let me just split it. There we go. Okay, so that would be hyperlinks, and we've now covered the external style sheet, and we reviewed, obviously, ID selectors, tag selectors, and CSS classes. All right, so we'll wrap up here another few minutes because we're at, I think, about an hour when we started, close to it. We took a little more time, but hopefully now that you guys have a real editor, you can see some of the benefits.
Yeah.
And also the web server. Pretty cool. So how do I stop the web server here? Control C, which is weird because it's like copy, right? But when you're in the terminal, it won't copy. Well, if you don't highlight anything. If it's running, it just stops it. So now it's stopped, as you can see here. Well, at least I think it is. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. And then, now I'm back to, I could run Node-V or whatever. All right. So any questions on the hyperlinks, the external style sheet, anything like that? So let me go to here real quick. I updated the homework doc. And I don't remember the shortcut link off the top of my head. Well, let me just I'll post it when I edit the video, or at least I'll try to remember. So I did add this afternoon a workshop 4 hands-on exercise. Basically in this one, you're going to do sort of what we just did. The reason we're reviewing this again is because it just didn't work last time with the online editor. So now you guys can kind of play with it a little bit. And then for workshop 5, what I'll do is just have you guys then add some more pages and add this. I mean, it won't take you more than 5-10 minutes. Well, now you guys need to get the web server going, which might take you a little bit. And then I'll probably have you just add some pages like I just did, because basically have you do what I just did so you can look at the GitHub side if you want to, if you get stuck. So anyway, workshop 4 though is up there for the exercise, and I'll upload the video for that one tonight. Okay. This one I'll try to do sooner. I was just got busy this week. So, all right. Now, if we go to the GitHub site, just as a real quick last thing here. Okay, we added some new pages to workshop 5, right? So I'm going to refresh. And do you even see a workshop 5? No. So this is where you guys don't need to know this right now, but I'm just going to kind of show you so you can start thinking. So this is where when I click on the little GitHub icon right here, well, it's not a GitHub icon. It's a source control icon where it says 6. So look what shows up in there. The about, well, pretty much everything that's in workshop 5 folder. shows up. In fact, you can see it says workshop 5 right there. So what I would do, and again, you guys won't have to do this right now. I just want to sort of show you how this works. In the real world, what you would do is you'd write some code. I would then put a little message like added new pages and linked to external style sheet. So you can give like, as much or as little detail as you want. In VS Code, you kind of check it in locally. You hit that little guy there. And then when I'm ready to go up to GitHub, I do what's called a push. So like I said, nothing for you guys to memorize here. I just kind of want to get you thinking because later we might get into this more. Now when I refresh, there we go. There's workshop 5. There's the about that we just did. Cool. Why is the link tag so over? Hold on. We might have to do another check-in. Oh, that's weird. It must just be how they formatted it. Yeah, it looked like it was bumped way over the link tag. But all right. So we'll go ahead and wrap this one up.
I forgot. What was the when you had the link and then the index the style sheet? What's the REL equals style sheet?
Relation.
Okay.
This is kind of, at least I think that's what it is, if I remember right. That's not one you ever like. It's just REL, Jeff. So here's where, that's not where I needed to go. Dev.mozilla.
It's basically is it like just a description for you or like
No, it actually kind of says that, hey, this tag, let me go, I'll show you their official, there we go, HTML link element.rel. Yeah, okay. Specifies a link to an external style sheet. The property is set to style sheet, and the href is set to the URL.
Okay.
But I believe it stands. I wanted to double check.
So basically, it's always going to be rel equals style sheet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just do the link tag. Let's see if they have a better. Because it's one of those. To be honest, I probably learned that thing back in 1990 something. But I'm pretty sure it's a. Let's see, link type. Document links, styling links. So let me see if that's it. No. That's a pseudo class. We're not going to get into that yet. Where the heck is the link tag? Link types. Yeah, because you can do other types of links to all kinds of things. Let's see, in fact. Yeah, there's style sheet. Well, they're just calling it a link type, but I think it stands for like, what's the relationship of whatever the href is. We did a style. We did a style sheet,
right.
CSS. So the relationship of what the link is a style sheet. For you guys, that's all you need to know. Okay. I have never used these others. Looks like you can do like link author. Well, actually, this might be a little different. This looks like you can do it on a hyperlink too. Yeah, I've never used that though, ever. Like in 20 plus years, there's a few of these I have, but very, very few. These are not common. A lot of these go way back and they're really old. Not super common. So.
Go with the style sheet.
Yeah, pretty much. But, that's, gosh dang it. I keep tapping the wrong one. That's a good conference if anybody wants. It's at Disney World. But that's where I'll go to here. Like we've been doing all workshops. And because there's some stuff, man, I probably haven't used it since. Like there's a way, you guys ever done, there'll be like a map on a page and when you click it, not a Google map. I'm talking old school where there's an image.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of image maps? Well, like they're not really used anymore. I won't say ever, but not very frequent. Well, because it could be anything. It's not just for maps. It could be a house and you can highlight areas of it that are like hotspots and you could set those points up. Well, I haven't done that for, I don't even know. I used to, like literally in the 90s. But it's just one of those things I would have to go look that up because I just don't need it nowadays.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff in HTML that you might come across it and come to find out like, oh, nobody uses this anymore.
Right.
Because HTML came out, 92 or something like that. In fact, you guys want to see, I think I still have it. The first ever HTML page. This was it. That's the first page ever published, supposedly. That's when, back in the day, when they didn't have images, there was no CSS, there was no JavaScript. It was just all hyperlinks. And yeah, there you go. Yeah, I bookmarked that because I like to show it every now and then. It's like the first web page ever, supposedly. Or at least one of them, back in probably, does it say? Probably 92 is my guess. Or 93, something like that. But anyway, any questions? Good night. I saw somebody checked in. All right, guys. Well, thanks for anyone watching, and we'll catch you next time.